would like to speak to you. You have been doing a lot of work with the women, especially in the corporate sector. And when we speak of corporates, they seem to be facing a dichotomy. Uh, you don't want to ask personal questions. Should you not at the time of the interviews. And at the same time, we do agree to one thing, that women need support on special occasions, special times. There may be crisis in the personal life, there may be crisis in the domestic life. So where do you find a kind of a balance in this? How can they work around this?
Sure, amazing question. And first of all, you will be surprised that we are even talking about it, because a lot of people push me back saying that why can't we ask personal questions when we are interviewing people, right? We have to ask them whether they are married, what is their spouse doing, how many children they have, what is their schedule. I'm like, why would you need that? You have to hire the person, right? So I remember when we were hiring, actually, Ankita is online and she gave me this feedback. Smita, when you hired me, you asked me questions only related to my job. You did not ask me what my husband is doing or how many kids. So I was like taken aback. That made me realize, yes, I did not and I do not, right? And in KelpHR, it's a very clear culture that we are not going to do this. And this is what we've been promoting clearly over a period of time. Now, great question you asked, Neeta, is that how do you strike a balance? You have to infuse that confidence within every person that your manager is happy to listen to you if you have a concern. Have you created an ecosystem where person can confide into you and say that I will need these kind of support? What kind of aura or ecosystem are you creating? So this is a very thin line that you will have to tread, or balance you'll have to maintain or create or work towards, right? And it will happen over a period of time. It will happen through the ecosystem. It won't be one person driving it or coming only from the top. It has to be in the DNA of every organization, right? They have to speak the right language. They have to create the credibility in the system. They have to create an ecosystem where people can reach out to. So there is a lot of work, Meeta, slowly and steadily, step by step, needs to be done.
Because the point is, often what happens when you share something, you never know how it comes back to you and how it comes back to haunt you. Because often they ask you questions like, even simple things like, are you married, your religion, your caste, do you have HIV, have you done this test? And people have in certain categories, like I said, we need to get inclusive, and in the sense of pushing inclusivity, this happens. Have you ever got these sort of cases where people have shared in goodwill and it's come back to haunt them?
Yes, it has. I mean, many a times people share, I sit on various sexual harassment committees as well, right? Yes. And latest case that I'm handling, so the conversation, single woman sharing her personal conversation with one very senior person, and the senior person thinking that he can give a shoulder to her, like trying to take advantage. Yes, it happens, and it happens very rampantly. So to whom you give that information is important. And I really challenge that organization of having such senior people, right? If you have pests in the organization, the pests show up quickly, and they show up in difficult situations. So put them in difficult situation and evaluate them. Interviewing is not a great skill of identifying right kind of person. Put them in difficult situation and see how they react to. And if they react differently, then you know that that person is the right kind of a fit or a wrong kind of fit. Yes, people get taken advantage if they share, but then as an employee, you should be able to understand with whom you can share. So I won't say it is only the other person's responsibility. It is also your responsibility. You cannot be chalta firta bar, right? You have to ensure to whom do you share your personal stuff, to whom you can confide, and not necessarily that if you share it with same sex, you will be more safer, right? I mean, I have had my bestest friends were men in corporate. I had a greatest camaraderie with all the men friends that I had. So it depends. So you as a person need to have that, gut feeling, if I have to say, or a strong judgment where you can share and cannot share.
Speaking of sexual harassment in corporates, A, it's not encouraged to call out. B, often the victim has to prove her innocence. And is there still a mindset in the Indian corporates where they can address these sort of issues, especially sexual harassment at workplace?
Oh yeah, Neeta, have been working for like 10 plus years. The law came in only 8 years back in 2013 for our country. But we have been working in the space of Vishakha guidelines. So let me give you a precursor. Our country lives in at least 4 centuries. So we are living to 2022, but I know a set of people who live in 1922 and 1822 also, right? So if I'm speaking purely, and I'm an urban woman, I'm speaking purely from tier 1, tier 2 kind of cities. There are evolved organizations, right? But as I have said that, I also know organizations which are still in 1922, okay, which has a big question mark of how sexual harassment can be detailed. But organizations which we work with, 700 plus organizations, pan-India, 99.9% want to create the safest space for everybody, not only women, men also, because men also get harassed and third gender also gets harassed, right? So they are constantly working towards it. And there is amazing IC committee, internal committee, which is an autonomous body. It does not report to anybody in the organization. It is created by the people for the people, but again, very credible people of the organization form that committee, and that committee infuses confidence in people to go and report and have the conversation. So they only not work till the cases come in, but they also work for prevention and prohibition. So it's a continuous journey. So again, this is 2022. Now there are organizations which are not there. Maybe that's a very large conversation to have.
When we speak of inclusivity, do we, because this means not just typical females, they're all sorts. So we have women, we have trans, we have lesbians. And in the corporate sector, when we say that, inclusivity has to be there, do you think it's mistaken that it's to fill in these slots or meritocracy? So why isn't there this, that, yes, you are giving emphasis to merit and it's not either or?
So it's a chicken and egg story, absolutely, okay? Whether we should give preference to meritocracy or should we give preference to diversity? Now, we will have to balance the both, right? We need our jobs to be done, and we also need to give an extra hand to people who come from this community. So this community has been marginalized. Let's take it on face, right? Especially transgenders. And people who come from lesbian, gay, they are still in closets, right? If you look at the statistics, 11% of people fall in LGBT community. But how many in your organization have come out? Question mark, right? Many do not come out because they feel that they will be bullied or harassed if they come out. So do we have to start talking about it? Yes, we have to start talking about it. We have to say that we will be creating, or we are creating, a safe workplace. Should we be hiring from that space? Yes, we should be hiring. So we will have to give special. So, we discuss about a word called equity. You know what is equity? Equity is not equality. It's a difference, right? Equality, that you have 10 chocolates and you divide 2 chocolates among five people, that is equality. But equity is that if somebody is super hungry, who has not eaten for 5 days, you might give that person 5 chocolates out of 10 and distribute 2 to somebody, 1 to somebody, and 1 to somebody. So that is equity. So these marginalized community, or community which needs to be given more focus, will be needed to be given that kind of support, and we should be giving that support. So we'll have to balance that equation. It's a very thin balance, and we'll have to see how we work about it. At KelpHR, we support a lot of organizations to create that balance constantly.